Hello and welcome to the new Art Talk, where we'll have another wonderful opportunity to talk about art. And my name is Maria Tarasova, and today I will speak about another work of the 20th century art that caught my attention at one of the latest Christie's auctions several weeks ago. This is a Brazilian Merganser by the contemporary American artist Frank Stella. This is the name of the work of art I'm going to speak about today, Brazilian Merganser. And Frank Stella created it in 1979. It was presented at the Christie's auction house in December of 2021. And as for the piece itself, that's how it looks like. And it comes from the Exotic Bird series. And you can see here the dimensions of the piece and also the materials that the artist used while making it. So I first got to know Frank Stella's art when I visited the exhibition of his works at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art in 2019. And so here you can see the spacious room where art pieces representing different epochs, I would say, different periods of Frank Stella's creativity were represented to the viewers. And what I was mostly surprised by and fascinated by was not only the range of different styles, most of the time self-invented by Frank Stella, but by the intention of the artist. And for example, here in this K56, quite recent work of art created in 2013, which comes from the Scholastic Robotic series, I was almost shocked to know that this is the representation of the music. And the artist employs here 3D printing technique. And this technology, this contemporary technology, enables him to represent the invisible. The painting comes off the canvas to become what? Not the sculpture, not the installation really, to become the visible music. And that's the intention, the artistic intention that fascinated me so much. The task that the artist sets for himself to visualize the invisible, to present something which is not presentable. In this case, to present the vigor of this Baroque music that makes its vivacious presence in the room. And you hear the music by means of this pictorial composition. And with this shot, I put you in the heart of this K56 work of art from the Scholastic Robotic series. And in that exhibition hall, there were several pieces from the Exotic Birds series. For instance, here you can see Kagu, made in 1979. And also the possibility of painting extended into space were explored by Frank Stella in this work of art. Exotic Bird series started in 1976, and you can see that Brazilian Merganser, which is the centerpiece of my art talk today, comes from the Exotic Bird series as well. And so here are three pieces from this series, and this series principle of creative process is typical for Frank Stella, and that's how each work of art becomes an part of the whole visual thinking process for an artist. And so the Exotic Bird series represents different species, most of which really belong to the threatened species which disappear on Earth. And that was one of the reasons Frank Stella really focused his attention on this subject, because the act of disappearance happening in the world, the process of disappearance is the part of the global entropy process we are going through. And the culture, the art is the medium by which human beings are capable to not just stop this process, but make it go backwards. And the philosophers of culture and the philosophers of art speak a lot on this attempt that art is really doing. So when we look at the Brazilian Merganser, we see several materials. So this is a complex technique that Frank Stella is using here. And the result of different techniques employed in the piece is the three-dimensional composition with French curves, protractor forms projecting from surface into the space where the viewer is actually. So, but here we have a very interesting contrast between the freedom of forms and the predetermined nature of the forms used here. So the geometric freedom in artworks of this Exotic Bird series is still bound to the forms and shapes of French curves used in technical drawing, in construction. And actually, Protractor series makes one of the most famous and influential series in Frank Stella works. And that Protractor series has a very interesting dialogue with this Exotic Bird series, where he also employs French curves and protractor elements in composition, in the arrangement of forms. So, but when we think about the origin of French curves and protractors, we see that these technical drawings elements and devices used in construction. And so what we really have here is the architecture of the bird. So the idea of painting becoming an architecture and the architecture becoming the the composition of something which is really moving, and the idea of capturing the movement in the architecture of the bird is what really interested the artist. And so let us take a look at these forms. They are multicolored, the bright color scheme is used here, and the French curves of red color is coming upwards in the from the left upper corner to the upper part, and it even breaks the edge of the canvas on which all the forms are fixed. And we have green forms and blue and yellow and purple. And you may also see some details here in this slide. Please take a look at this glitter on aluminum that Frank Stella uses. And the material, when Frank Stella started using metal in his artworks, he made such comments which I would like to draw your attention to. The shininess and the metallic quality made a surface repellent and resistant to perception. And it made paintings lighter, more fragile, and in that sense, they seem to me, that is the quote, more abstract. They were less physically present in a way. So I particularly would like to draw your attention to these two words, the word abstract and less physically present. So these are the artistic effects which the artist is telling about his wish to achieve, to make the work of art more abstract and less physically present. And but let us go back and to the physical presence of the world, and let us look at the bird whose name gave the title to the piece. This is the Brazilian Merganser. And among the peculiar features of the bird, you may notice a hood with a long crest. And if you look back at the work of art, we may notice some of these particular elements. We may identify the head in this green protractor, the crest, in this red French curve, the beak, the wing, actually, which is this aluminum glittered piece projecting from the surface. But still, even when we identify the elements that make the architecture of the exact bird, really, still the work of art is more than a bird. And here I recall the famous saying of René Magritte, this is not a pipe, when he makes the image of the pipe and he writes down the image that this is not a pipe. And so this is a bird and this is not a bird at the same time. And so the effect of the abstraction that Frank Stella desired to achieve and made it really one of his artistic goals makes us wish to define what abstraction is and what abstraction is not. So Rudolf Arnheim, in his visual thinking research, says that abstraction speaks of the removal, since the verb abstract here means actively to draw something away from somewhere. And actually, the Oxford Dictionary quotes 17th century usage of the word abstraction, to abstract. And the quote from the dictionary goes this way: the more abstract we are from the body, the more fit we shall be to behold divine light. So the abstraction means getting away, the exact process that Frank Stella is describing, to get away from the physical presence. But still, when we are getting away, the intention of the artist is still to make visible something which is more than what we see in the first sight. And so abstraction always reveals something essential of the thing abstracted, not just the head or the wing, the crest of the specific bird, but the concept of the flight, the concept of the disappearance of this exotic bird flight, and the desire of flying away belongs to the painting itself, as Frank Stella really speaks and tells anytime that he's being asked about the concepts behind his art and embodied in his art. And I would like to make another quote here. So what painting wants more than anything is space to grow and expand into. Pictorial space that is capable of direction and movement. Pictorial space that encourages unlimited orientation and extension. Painting doesn't want to be confined by boundaries of edge and surface. And so what Frank Stella does in this Brazilian Merganser is making a visual concept that are crystallized in simple and well-shaped forms. In painting or sculpture, the artist often endeavors to abstract a movement or action in a timeless image. And that's what we exactly have in this work of art. We have the visual concept of space, flight, wind, lightness, movement, air, and shining. The visual concepts that make the invisible things visible and the disappearing things appearing, and the unpresentable concepts present. So here we have a magnificent portrait of the flight of the bird, which is on the edge of disappearing in our world. And that's what Brazilian Merganser is about. Now I would like to say goodbye to you, and I hope we shall meet again at more art talks about works of art of the 20th century and other centuries, when human beings made their life quest for understanding how to represent the invisible nature of the visible world. So that is actually what art is about. To let people see the invisible. So I have really enjoyed speaking to you about this work of art. Several weeks ago, presented at the Christie's auction house, and it was successfully presented and sold, and that really is encouraging in a way that we understand how Frank Stella's art is relevant to the human needs for beauty and for knowledge in understanding ourselves and the world around us. So thank you very much for listening. See you again at new Art Talks in my series. Goodbye.